Hello, I'm Randy McClure. Welcome to the latest supply chain tech brief.
All right, let's jump right in. When you think about supply chain security, it's easy to picture, guards at a gate, fences, and locks. But that's just not the whole picture anymore. The real battleground today, it's all digital. We're going to talk about why digital identity isn't just some tech problem for the IT department. Nope, it's a huge strategic issue that every supply chain leader needs to get a handle on, like yesterday. And I love this quote. It just nails the problem, right? Digital congestion. Think about that for a second. It's like a massive gridlocked highway. But instead of cars and trucks, you've got this insane mix of people, automated systems, AI bots, maybe even your smart pallets, all banging on the digital door trying to get access. So the billion-dollar question becomes, how in the world do you figure out who gets the green light? And that's the thing. Handling this digital bottleneck is every bit as important as making sure your trucks are running on time. I mean, let one bad actor slip through and your whole operation could be compromised. But on the flip side, if your security is too clunky and slow, you're going to bring your own business to a grinding halt. It's a real high wire act. Okay, so that's the problem. How do we actually start to build a solution? Well, it all starts with understanding the basic blueprints, the fundamental ways these digital identity systems are put together. Let's pop the hood and take a look. When you strip it all away, it really comes down to just three main approaches. Three basic architectures that pretty much every digital identity system is built on: centralized, federated, and decentralized. That's it. Everything kind of fits into one of these three buckets. And what's cool is that you already know these. You just might not know the names. So, centralized. Think Facebook. They own your data, they control the platform. Simple. Federated. That's anytime you see sign in with Google on a website. You're letting Google, a third party you trust, vouch for you. And then there's decentralized. This is the newer kid on the block. Think digital wallets, where you, the individual, are in total control of your identity. Now, for a supply chain leader, this isn't just tech jargon. This is a massive strategic choice. Who do you want to hold the keys to the kingdom? You, a partner, or the users themselves? Okay, now here's a super important distinction, especially in the supply chain world. We're not just checking one type of ID here. We actually have to verify two totally different kinds of entities: the companies themselves, and then all the people and systems that work for those companies. Yeah, this slide breaks it down perfectly. You've got these two sides of the same coin. On one side, corporate identity. Is that invoice for $1 million really from your trusted supplier? You have to be absolutely sure. But then on the other side, you have individual identity. Is the person who just clicked pay on that invoice actually the CFO, or is it an intern who got a hold of their password? See, if you only verify one but not the other, you've got a massive gaping hole in your security. So how do we establish that corporate level trust? Well, there are these industry standards, these official identifiers. You've probably run into some of these: DUNS numbers, LEI codes. They might just look like a random string of characters, but they're so much more than that. They're basically the corporate world's version of a government issued ID. It's how you know you're dealing with the real deal, even if you've never met them in person. And then for people, well, this is stuff we all deal with every single day. It's a cocktail of information, right? You've got the basics like your name and birthday. Then you've got the really unique stuff like your fingerprint, your biometrics, plus official identifiers like a social security number. And sometimes it's a physical thing, like a chip in an ID card. They're all just different ways to answer one simple question: are you really you? Okay, but here's where it gets really critical. Proving who you are once when you log in, that's not enough. Not even close. I like to think of it like a nightclub. The bouncer checks your ID at the door, that's verification. But once you're inside, there are security guards roaming around, making sure you're not causing trouble or sneaking into the VIP section. That constant, ongoing check, that's authentication. So you've logged in, you're in the system. But how do we know it's still you 5 minutes later? What's to stop a hacker from hijacking your session and starting to approve fake invoices? How does the system constantly confirm that every single click is legit? And that's exactly what authentication is. It's not a one and done deal. It's a continuous process of challenging your identity again and again with every important action you take. And honestly, this is arguably even more important than that first login, because this is what stops a breach that's already in progress. So, how does this actually work? Well, with stuff you're already using every day. The classic way is a password. That's something you know. But we all know passwords can be stolen, right? So we layer on top of that. We add something you have, like your phone getting a text message with a code. When you start combining these, like a password plus a code from your phone, that's multi-factor authentication. And there's a good reason it's the standard now. It's just way, way harder to break. Okay, so let's zoom back out for a second, because all of this, it leads to what is probably the single biggest headache for anyone trying to implement this stuff. It's this constant push and pull, this fundamental trade-off that every single company has to wrestle with. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. You can build Fort Knox, but if it takes 10 minutes and 3 different devices for your warehouse manager to log in and update inventory, guess what? They're either going to stop doing it or they'll write their password on a sticky note. You can't have security at the total expense of usability. They are always, always in tension with each other. And this table basically lays out the menu of options for a business leader. Look at this. You want multi-factor authentication? Great. You've just massively boosted your security. The con? You might annoy your users and slow things down a bit. How about biometrics, like face scans? Super secure. But now you've waded into a huge privacy minefield. And zero trust, the idea of trusting no one ever, it's fantastic for security, but man, it can be incredibly expensive and complex to get right. Every single one of these is a business decision with a clear pro and a clear con. So at the end of the day, it all comes back to this one big question. And there's no easy answer here. It's different for every business. The question you have to ask yourself is this: is your supply chain designed for maximum security or for maximum usability? Where on that spectrum does your organization sit today? Because finding that sweet spot is everything. If you get that balance wrong, you're either going to frustrate your people into paralysis or you're going to leave the front door wide open for a breach.
Hello, this is Raymond McClure from SC Tech Insights. Thank you for listening. For more on this topic, click the article link below or go to www.sctechinsights.com for the latest insights on supply chain technology. Thank you and see you next time.